Hello guys, welcome to the Gentleman's Debate. Today it's just Mickey and Simon. We've got half the team today. Joe's away watching Metallica.
Josh.
It's
Josh.
I said, damn it.
You said Joe, you bellend.
How
can you forget that?
Rewind
No,
it.
we've already.
Rewind.
It's too late. We're committed.
No,
we're committed now.
You motherfucker. He's going to hate on me now.
Yeah, he's going to hate on you.
He's going to hate on
You're
me.
a fucking idiot for saying that.
Josh.
Yeah, we've
Josh.
got a friend called Joe.
And we've got a
who
friend
lives in
called
this
Josh.
house,
He
and a friend
lives
called
next to
Josh.
me.
Yeah. So how the fuck do you confuse the two of them?
Well, it's easy to confuse when you live right next to Josh. I didn't.
Okay, right. So Josh,
I had coffee.
you just had a cup of coffee. I just watched
had
you
coffee,
do it.
but it's not kicked in.
Well, it's kicking in now.
Anyway, Josh
Hi, ladies
is
and
away.
gentlemen.
Josh is away. He's in a Metallica concert in Manchester. Lucky bugger. And Sam is currently feeling unwell under the weather, so he's not going to be joining us today. So just me and Simon. I wish we kind of had something of a note to talk about. We're just kind of gonna let it fly because me and Simon usually have pretty sick chats.
Sick bants, mate. Sick bants.
Yeah,
Sick bants.
yeah.
I'm trying to keep it relevant with the kids out there.
It's like a way of being really uncool. Like when someone that's older
Oh yeah.
tries to say something like, "Oh, you pie."
Fam.
No,
I hate that
like
term.
instant
Fam.
uncoolness. Fam.
Why would you abbreviate family to fam?
I don't know. I think it'd be something like an endearing kind of like it means that you're closer than a friend. But then it got kind of overused, just like with every other slang word. So people used to say "fam" every three words. Yeah, fam. How's it going, fam? Like seriously, fam. It's like, and that's when people get sick.
Yeah, I feel like it's replaced the word man. How you doing, man? You're right,
In
man.
general, man and woman.
Yeah, you're not allowed to
Fam.
use gender pronouns now.
Well,
You're not meant to, because then you're assuming people's gender, and then people get their backs up.
Why?
I don't know why that's happened recently. I know the fam thing isn't actually to do with that whatsoever. I'm just making a joke about
Everything's kind of gender fluid now.
I don't know. There's some things that aren't. Priests. The Pope. President of the United States hasn't been a woman yet.
That's true.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Britain, we've done better. We got 2 female leaders of our country.
Not as good as Serbia.
Not as good as
They've just elected their first a homosexual female president. I'm really proud of them guys. Fucking
the man. They ticked the boxes there, didn't they?
Yeah, I know.
She black as well. Because that's the way you get the full trifecta.
No, like we didn't do the whole slavery thing, so there's not many black people in the Balkans, to be honest.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's just that you decide to all enslave each other.
Pretty well. No, we
One Slavic race would enslave the other Slavic race, or just wipe each other off the planet.
We're more like really petty neighbors, you know, when like.
Well, it's all because of what happened in World War II.
Oh, do elaborate.
So, like the Bosnians and the Serbs specifically. I think it was the Bosnians sided with the Nazis.
Absolutely hated each other.
So before they hated each other anyway, which is kind of to do with World War One. But then they hated each other before World War One anyway. So
yeah, but
we'll
the Croats
gloss over that.
got involved there, and they slaughtered a load of.
I think
Serbians.
it's the Bosnians were. Is it the Croats or the Bosnians who are a predominantly Muslim country?
Bosnians.
And then what happened? So if it was the Bosnians, then they were the ones who sided with the Nazis. So they.
I know Bulgaria did. I'm not sure about.
Yeah, Bosnians did as well. So they sided with them.
Albania did.
And then the Serbs didn't. The Serbs definitely didn't. And then they had their country invaded because the Serbs are fiercely nationalist. Like they were the people who killed like some Serbian nationalists killed
that's the person
Franz
that killed
Ferdinand,
Franz Ferdinand, which actually started World
War One. Yeah, so they're fiercely nationalist. And then what happened was basically after the collapse of Yugoslavia, and then the interference of the West to try and be like, oh, we know exactly what's going on, we'll help out. In actual fact, arming most of the Serbians, and then the Serbians were like, "Well, we got guns now. And the Bosnians don't have as many guns. I'm gonna fuck you guys up."
That place is a powder keg.
It's a powder keg on top of a volcano.
A communist. Yugoslavia was a communist state. It was market socialism, so it wasn't full on blown communism. You know, we had free markets and stuff like that, but when that fell apart, it's been a powder keg. So we've had Bosnia, Serbo-Croat war first, Bosnia, fall of Yugoslavia, Kosovo, Macedonian Civil War, all within the space of less than 20 years.
Why was there a civil war in Macedonia? What was the thing behind that?
So it all kicked off because
Also,
the Albanians wanted to have a seat in parliament, and then far right extremist Albanian terrorist groups basically got together and started killing, and then Macedonians started killing, and then it turned into a full-on armed conflict.
Interesting. Because I knew that Greece had a war with Turkey over Cyprus. So that entire area has kind of just been at war for
a
long time, and Turkey's still going for they might as well be going for a civil war.
It's been doing that for before you go back 2,000 years. We had the Macedonian tribe, the Spartans, the Greeks, the Slavic Empire up in the north. Like the Slavs kind of operated that area. So it's always been the only thing that's ever got the area together is when the Persians came over. So when Xerxes invaded, and when the Ottomans came over, that's the only way anyone in that area is kind of like banded together.
The Ottomans were the ones who
507 years they were occupying that area.
Fuck. And then it went all to hell when the Ottoman Empire started to crumble.
Started falling in the 1900s when they were still around. People forget this. They were still around even during World War One. They were still around.
Yeah, they fought. So the British. The Anzac forces and some French forces. Because the Ottoman Empire supported the Germans and Austro-Hungarians during World War One.
Yeah.
And basically, there was a strategy that was kind of created by Sir Winston Churchill when he was the Lord of the Admiralty.
Uh-huh.
So basically, his hypothesis was he wanted to take out Turkey as an ally, take them clean out. And what they did was they wanted to land on a peninsula that was near Istanbul.
Uh-huh.
And what they would do is they would land all their troops on there, then they'd march into Istanbul and then take out the seat of power, take control of Turkey.
Yeah, then Istanbul is the seat of power.
And then they'd have control of the Suez Canal. I think that was the hypothesis.
The Suez Canal, don't you mean the...
I think the reason why... No, yes, sorry, I apologise. But the issue was that Turkey was starting to send its navy out to impede any movement through the Suez Canal. So there was two things.
Because Turkey was in that area. You go just a bit further south and you're at the Suez Canal.
Yeah, so there was two bits to it, sorry. So they wanted to take them out of the war and potentially link up so they could have movement so that they could the Allies could support the Russians, because the Russians' war was going terribly.
Oh yeah, and you can get troops through the Black Sea and Russia.
Yeah, so you can get them up that way. And take them through the
Crimea
south
and stuff like that.
Through the south of Russia, basically.
Yeah, Russia were getting hammered, to be honest. World War II, especially.
Well, World War One, a lot of people don't even think about. They got
50 miles away from Moscow, not even that.
A lot of people don't even think about World War One, how bad the killing was then. It was horrific, and then in 1917,
the Russians, they've always been like a buffer zone. But so the Germans would just go and try to take out the Russians. The Russians would keep fighting them for so long, and everyone else would just kind of.
It's not just the Germans. Napoleon had the same thing. When he tried to invade Russia, did not go well for him because he didn't.
Yep.
The problem you got with Russia is it's such a vast country.
Wasn't it like exactly 100 years before that the Napoleon invaded or something like that? The timeline was ridiculous.
It's quite close. I wouldn't say it's bang on 100
Napoleonic Wars, it started in 1812, I think it ended.
I'll find out.
And then he came back for a year, and then
yeah, that's Battle of War. So he was put into exile on like a I think it was either Crete or Sardinia. So it's Sardinia, sorry.
Right next to Italy.
He was Sardinian anyway. A lot of people don't know that.
No.
Yeah. He was Sardinian, which is owned. Sardinia, I think, is owned by France, and the other island that's just south to it, which is Corsica, is owned by Italy.
I didn't know that.
But they're basically like the blend of the two.
Is that still the case? Does Italy now own both?
No, it's still the case.
I did not know that France owned.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I mean, like, there's bits around the world that is like this.
Well, Falklands.
Oh, here we go. 18th of June, 1815 is when the Battle of Waterloo.
So so it ended in 1814, I think, and then it came back
for 1815 for round 2.
And it started in the 1800s, I believe, 1802.
Napoleon War. (1803 to 1815).
So exactly 100 years later, pretty much another world war would would ensue.
Yeah, basically. It was an interesting one. It's an interesting thing. I mean, like, you had a lot of shit going on around that time.
Well, it was the fall of the German Empire, wasn't it, around the 1800s, where they just basically segmented into loads of little provinces. I was trying to talk to a historian the other day as to why that happened. I'm not too sure.
So the German Empire was what a lot of people call the Holy Roman Empire.
Yeah, the Holy Roman
Empire. And then
it
collapsed. God, it happened 1700s.
Was it the 1700s?
Something like the 1700s, and then basically you had like the Prussians, and you had something. You had those other groups in there, but basically what happened was France, after their civil war, basically just took control of parts of Germany.
Yeah,
because they boarded them, and it was very easy for them to do.
Well, yeah, of course, they've always been the two.
They just took the power, and also there was a lot of the area that's close to France is great for farming, so they were like, "Fuck it, we'll just take it over." And then the Prussians managed to organise themselves into a way that they became an actual fighting force.
The Prussians were like pretty predominant.
They were good, but they weren't that good.
Well, we actually have the Prussian school system right now, enacted in the entire planet. It was adopted by the Americans, and then for everyone else, the Prussian kind of like a regimented class system and everything like that.
Really, that's interesting.
But yeah, the Prussians were, as far as I'm aware, from Cossacks, quite a force with the Prussians.
Well, Napoleon managed to beat the Prussian and Austrian army at the same time. He split his force. So there was it's one of the greatest examples of having to split your forces. The only other person who was so successful was Caesar, when he had to fight, ironically, the Germanic tribes.
Yeah.
So what happened basically was Napoleon he was going through Germany, and then the Prussian army was further away, and what Napoleon was trying to do was hit the Austrian army early.
Yeah.
But then what happened is the Prussian army moved faster than they expected. So then what he did is he split his forces apart, and he smashed both of them at the same time.
No.
Yeah.
So you had like basically
wiped the Austrians out first, and then what happened was his forces that were fighting the Prussians were starting to buckle, but then all the others who'd beaten the Russians reinforced them and smashed the Prussians. But the Prussians weren't beaten; they were like pushed back. So their army was beaten, but it wasn't that they were like broken.
They were like completely.
So what happened was they reassembled, and then eventually what happened was with the British. So Napoleon took control of that, and then he started fighting down into Spain, took control of Spain, and then they started fighting in Portugal.
I forget he went down to Spain.
And then what we did was Portugal was one of our allies because the ports they have down in Portugal are fucking brilliant. So what we did is we sent a large amount of troops down there and fought. So it was the Peninsular Wars basically, and fought their way up into Spain, and eventually I think managed to create a sandwich effect where they captured Napoleon. So managed to beat his armies, capture Napoleon.
Well,
that was in combination.
Spain, if you wanted a geographical advantage in Spain, you'd have to get up to the mountains where near Aragon, like modern day Catalonia is. There's like a mountain range pretty much splitting France and Spain. I can't remember.
The Pyrenees.
The Pyrenees are splitting it, so that's like a geological advantage there. If you hold them at that level, it's hard for anyone to get through. That's why I think the borders are between Spain and France in that area because of the Pyrenees.
Well, speaking about it in modern times now, let's think about it. I mean, what we've got going on now is the state of Catalonia, is wanting to secede from Spain.
Yeah.
And this is the even more interesting bit. Spain has to leave the European Union if that happens.
We were discussing this the other day.
Yeah. It's bad. Real bad. It's like a lot of people...
They would have to reapply, though, and you'd assume that Spain would get back in.
Not necessarily. They'd have to pay a lot of money as well. It could bankrupt their entire economy.
Well, they're already... I think it's something like 40% youth unemployment or so, 30%.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I used to live with some Spanish housemates. And
I used to have work with some, yeah.
And they were saying, like, there's no jobs. Like, there's no jobs whatsoever for young people. But the problem is, some of them who've come over, like, I know a guy who went and he's doing a great job in Hull, where he does, it's like, he had a master's in engineering, mechanical engineering. Yeah, that was it, a master's in mechanical engineering. So he went to work for a Hull firm, like a mechanical engineering firm.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been in the country for long enough. So when Brexit finally is confirmed, he has to leave. He has to go back to where he comes from.
That's crazy. Like, it's crazy how Europe...
Or he applies for citizenship here in the UK.
It puzzles me greatly how, like, for example, Spain, you would see it as an advanced European economy, an advanced Western economy.
You can kind of see why it fell apart, though.
What's the Spain in general?
Yeah, you can see why its economy is just not, because like
they've had troubles ever since World War One, where they were having a civil war and all that crap.
Oh, that shit was that's. I mean, my hypothesis is that this scenario where Catalonia wants to secede could spark a new civil war. Because the way I put it,
how is this segment? Because there's Catalonia, and then you've got like the southern part of Spain has never really been that close with the rest near Granada, which is the province where the Rock of Gibraltar, like near that area.
Yeah,
because they were occupied by the Alamads, which came from northern Africa.
Yeah, it used to be
for quite a long time. So they're not the same sort of culture as the rest. So there's that bit. There's Catalonia. Then there's the centre bit, which is Castile, I believe.
Yeah, it's Castilians.
So those are the bits in the middle.
Those are Castilians are the cultural like Spanish people.
Yeah, so
they're like
that would be
Spanish.
Would be Spain. Yeah,
they're the Spanish. The Catalonians, the Catalan people don't refer to themselves as Spanish.
And they have their own language,
Catalan.
which they tried to suppress. They tried to make it illegal to speak and stuff like that. That's an issue. That's the thing that Yugoslavia tried to do. Create.
We tried in Britain. We did that. The English did it to the Welsh, the Irish, and the Scottish. Suppress their language.
Well, the English are the only ones that as far as I'm aware of, have managed to succeed at without fixing everything going to.
Well, I would say that the success was measured in blood. So the suppression of the
Changing
Scottish.
someone's culture is never an easy.
So the suppression of the Scottish, that was horrific. The invasion of Wales.
Well, William Wallace, that was actually a historical.
Well, that was it wasn't. What we did was we invaded it. We invaded Scotland.
Is it true about the Lords in the film? The Lords basically every newlywed. That would really fuck with someone.
Yeah, it's to breed out the Scots. So the point was the English you were instructed, if you were a lord or something like that had land in Scotland because you were given it by the king, they were instructed to basically sleep with as many women as possible to make them English.
That's one way to create an uprising on your hands.
It's also one way to completely take out an entire civilization.
That would like boil my blood. If I was in that time in Scotland and someone said, "Oh, by the way, if you get married, someone bones your wife before you do," I'd be like, "I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill everyone that I can."
Well, that's what happens, but it didn't work out. It just didn't work out. I mean, there's part like everyone's seen Braveheart by now. That's possibly the closest you'll get to people's knowledge of it.
Yeah.
But like this is what happened. England went, we're going to take over this part of that we can. I mean, a lot of people don't even know that England invaded Ireland before they invaded anybody anywhere else. So they didn't invade Wales. They didn't invade Scotland. They invaded Ireland first and took control of that quickly. Then they took out Wales because it was bordered most of Western England.
Yeah. That would have been pretty easy because
it was. It wasn't, and it was
sparsely populated.
It was. So the army that happened, and this is the thing where the English, who are renowned for their longbowmen, they got it from the Welsh because the Welsh instituted archers first, and and the English did, but nowhere near as effectively. So the longbow and also the techniques of how to use the longbow, how to deploy troops who are longbowmen, didn't come along until after we'd fought after we fought the Welsh. So then the Welsh
basically... What time period are we talking here?
God.
Is it after 1066? After
it's well after. It's well after.
After the Normans?
I think it was about 1100, 1200. Around about that time.
1200, yeah.
1200. It was Henry. I think it was Henry II. Or Edward.
For some reason, the date 1237 comes to mind.
Well, it could be a good guess. But that was... But the whole idea, like going back to the sort of Catalan thing, is that you have you have one part of the country that suppresses the rest, and then the others want independence. So eventually, like, we got to a point where Scotland went, we're going to vote for our own independence. And if they had, then a lot of people didn't even know this, if they had become independent,
we would have had to leave.
Britain would have had to leave the European Union even before Brexit was even on the cards.
Because all of the terms at which we are joined changed completely. So we're completely different from that.
Yeah. So this is the problem that you've got now, is that Spain will have to leave if Catalan does completely secede from it.
Could this spell the end for the European Union, do you think?
Theoretically. So the issue you've got is you've still got France and Germany are part of it.
Well, the three main power players, everyone agrees, would be England, Germany, and France. Those were the largest economies, with the largest populations. With
I saw this on the news, is that the European Bank owes Britain a ridiculous amount of money.
No.
We have a 16% stake, which is a massive stake
in the debt
in the bank. We own 16% of the bank.
No.
Yes, of the European National. No, not the European National. It's a European Bank, basically. A lot of people refer to it as. We own, and basically, this is the thing that's happening with the guys who they're saying like, oh, well, you're not going to get that money back until 2058 because of Brexit.
Because of Brexit,
yes.
It's like basically saying I owe you money, but I'm not going to give you it back because you are no longer living with me until fucking you're 50.
So here's the thing, Paul Junckers, who's the head. I think he's the head of the European Union. He said Britain leaving the European Union and not paying for those agreements of like grants and stuff that we would pay for, and then because basically Theresa May was saying, our Prime Minister was saying that we're not going to pay for some of that, and he was saying like, oh, it's like leaving, it's like going into a pub with everyone and everyone buys a round, and then Britain says, oh yeah, I'll buy a round as well, and then leaves and doesn't pay its round.
Yeah, but what if that person that doesn't pay the round, you owe them the most amount of money?
Yeah, it's a bit. I agree. It's like, hang on, the European Central Bank owes their this. It's 16%. It's an insane figure.
Well, as far as I'm aware, I know that our current GDP is about 2.6 trillion. We're 94% debt to GDP ratio at the moment.
94% is an insane figure.
It's one of the highest in the world. One of the only people that beat us is Japan with 237%.
So hang on, so they've got 237% debt
to GDP ratio.
Fuck me, that's
and
insane,
they've got their GDP is about 6 trillion. Because they're the third largest economy in the world after China. So there's a big issue that I think we're 5th or 6th in the world for debt to GDP ratio, which a lot of people don't. This is why they keep saying deficit, blah 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 blah. It's because it's like America's in debt, like 17 trillion or something ridiculous, but because their GDP is 20, it's like it's all relative.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of money to be out of the country. Especially the thing that people don't realize about debt is when you get variable interest rates and stuff like that. So the people are talking about the banks and the fact that it's going to go from
0.25
to it's going to go up basically.
Might put it up to 0.5.
So this could mess up the disposable incomes for people. They'll have to pay more on the mortgages, more on debts, more on stuff like that.
Better for your savings.
Being in debt is only good if you make a plan to say, I will be in debt in order to create this infrastructure, to create that, to create this, to create that. If you're borrowing to keep the lights going, it's like a business. If a business was making a loss year on year, the shareholders would go over, it would go bankrupt. Countries don't do that, and this is a very big thing. What happened with Venezuela? I read a statistic the other day. Do you know World of Warcraft?
Yeah.
You can buy World of Warcraft gold for real money. World of Warcraft gold at one point was more valuable than Venezuelan currency.
Oh shit, that's bad.
It was the inflation rate, hyperinflation rate was about 157%.
That happened to Germany before World War II.
Yeah.
Hyperinflation's a bitch.
It's when a large amount of people lose complete and utter faith in your economy and trust in your country's ability to pay its debts. So in general, this is why I believe there should be a global unified currency. Because
I see what you mean.
Then you don't have the problem of hyperinflation bombs just taking out countries. And the thing is as well, you incorporate economic warfare onto that. You could target actual...
We're masters of economic warfare as Britain.
Oh, yeah.
We are the masters of that.
It's not just you. It's called the... okay, well, I will share. It's called the Five Eyes Organization.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of that before?
No, I've never heard of Five Eyes.
So the Five Eyes, it's Canada, America, the UK, South Africa, and Australia.
Right.
So Commonwealth countries.
Yeah, well, America isn't Commonwealth.
Well, Commonwealth and
it's ex-colonies basically. It's ex-white colonies.
And you've got an agreement in place to share intelligence, to share multiple different factors of.
I can see Canada and America because they share a border, and Britain has always been an ally of America. and vice versa.
But then again, have we got similar cultures, the same language?
Yeah.
You know, we kind of get each other more than, for example, the French, the Germans,
we're predominantly white as well.
Yeah. So
thing.
It's called the Five Eyes organization. There's some things that like is kind of well known within certain circles. So I'm not thinking that this is something that should be like, oh, big spoiler alert. But yeah, it's called the Five Eyes organization. Anyway, why
is it called the Five Eyes? As in eyes as in eye? Or is it eye as in the letter I?
No, 5 eyes as in eye.
Oh, that's weird. That sounds really Masonic. Like, you know, like Masons who do the funny handshakes.
We could really go into some deep stuff now, but I don't think we don't want to activate that part of the internet.
No, and also like...
But it's mainly to share intelligence.
That's a useful thing when you think about it, because you've got America and Britain and Canada and Australia, South Africa. Probably New Zealand's in there as well, I bet. But they get stuck in.
It's the Five Eyes. I think that they're kind of incorporated within Australia because they're so small.
I'd say they probably get roped in as well. But it's like, when you think about it, you cover all of North America.
Yeah.
And you have the largest flipping infrastructure of spy satellites and spies.
Yeah, so
on the planet.
Where are you weak? You're weak in Asia. So what you do,
Australia.
You get Japan on board. You get
Japan
South Korea on board.
South Korea would be good.
So, how close are Japan and America? America have to go to war if Japan get attacked because they've got a defense treaty.
How close are South Korea and America?
Yeah.
Very close.
So it's all a geopolitical chess game. So it's basically saying, I will get really chummy with South Korea. I will get very chummy with Japan. China kind of tolerates this bullshit because America leaves them to do their own shit. So have you realized recently how when America said to China, can you stop North Korea from being like imposed situation, and China was like, So America sent a frigate to Taiwan. And Taiwan and China fucking hate each other because
I've got something interesting about Taiwan. Me and Josh went to a whiskey festival.
You went to Taiwan?
No, we went.
We went to Taiwan.
We went to Taiwan and we didn't become spies. No, we went to the whiskey festival that's held at York Racecourse.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
It was really good.
Yeah,
and there was a company there that was a Taiwanese company that make whiskey.
No.
Yeah, two Taiwanese girls were selling it. Damn good. It's good whiskey. There's
You'd be surprised how many companies... You know Red Bull?
Yes.
Vietnam.
No, it's not
Came
from
out of Vietnam.
No fucking way.
It's this like drink in Vietnam.
No way is it
That's
from Vietnam.
This American salesman went over to Vietnam, was like, damn, I like this stuff.
Shit.
Rebranded it, made it Red Bull, and now he's one of the richest people in the world.
Well, yeah, when you think about it.
Fucking Red Bull, mate.
When you think about Red Bull, like Red Bull is into everything. Like F1,
They spend 80% of their yearly profits on advertising.
Makes sense.
So that's why, what's his name, that Baumgart, that Felix, who jumped over space, that was Red Bull. Like the Red Bull racing team, Formula One.
They do the Red Bull soapbox race in every fucking capital city in the country. In the world, sorry. And then they do the airplane thing.
They are masters of marketing.
Soapbox. They do loads of shit. Oh my god, fucking Red Bull sponsors like athletes and everything like that.
Yeah,
as well.
car events. They spend 80, and their profits are in the billions. So they spend 80% of that.
And they're big into computer gaming as well.
No.
Yeah, Red Bull. Big into computer gaming. They're big sponsors.
Did they sponsor
them
the
and
big
Monster? It's them and Monster that compete.
Monster competes a lot with them. Yeah, because they compete with the whole kind of like, you know, that guy that does all the videos on YouTube with like the cars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All the car racing stuff like that. That's Monster.
There was a thing where Relentless used to be trying to get into the gaming market.
They didn't.
And they got slapped the fuck down by Red Bull and Monster. Monster supports loads of MMA fighters. They support... So Dominic Cruz, the former UFC bantamweight champion, he was out for 2 years with knee injuries. So what happened was he had knee surgery on one of his knees because the ACL, anterior cruciate ligament, tore.
Yeah.
So then what he did is he had a cadaver's ACL put onto it. He didn't... but he thought he was okay, kept training, and then he went back to training, and then he tore it again. So he had to have surgery on it again. And then what happened was his other knee went because it was picking up the strain. So
because he was adjusting and he was using all that pressure on that floor.
Yeah, but then Monster, to their credit, whilst he was still out, so he wasn't competing in the UFC whatsoever at that point, and I think he was stripped of the bantamweight title because he wasn't fighting.
He couldn't defend it. Yeah.
They still support him. They still paid checks to him.
That's good
as a sponsor. Yeah, I mean, I think he still got really close relationships with him. But Monster is like one of the main sponsors for the UFC. Like you got Monster, and you got Monster headphones as well. They're quite big.
I didn't know that.
I've got a pair of Monster headphones. Like the Bluetooth.
Beats are really big.
The green. Well, here's the thing about Monster. Apparently, so Monster didn't exist. It was Beats by Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
So there was Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
His guys, his business team.
Yeah.
And then there was the guys from Monster.
Yeah.
They were together, but the guys from Monster were the tech guys who knew how to put it all together and make the headphones as good as they could be. So that's why everybody bought Beats by Dr. Dre, because they were the best headphones.
Yeah.
And then what happened was there was a business kerfuffle where I think basically the guys from Monster got screwed. Then they went, fuck you, and then they took their patents with them. But then what happened was Beats by Dr. Dre was still producing the headphones under their patents. There was a patent dispute. Some of the patents went to Monster and some of them went to Beats by Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
Now they're two separate companies entirely.
And then Monster went into energy drinks.
And no, they're not. They're not connected to the energy drink company. They just happen to have the same name.
I thought you meant the energy drink company.
No. So they're the same. So that it's confused. I agree, it's confusing. But they're a Monster is a headphone company.
Because you're allowed to name the companies the same name as long as you don't compete in the same field.
Exactly. So if you were like Miki Dmitrievsky, I don't know, fucking deodorant producer.
Axe. I'm Axe.
And I was Miki Dmitrievsky and I made shoes. Then I could call myself the same.
Yeah, of course. Because we are in no way directly competing with each other.
We're not competing against each other.
You do cross into weird water when a brand becomes globally recognizable.
Yeah.
Because if you've got, let's say if you've got Tesla, as in electric cars, and then Tesla as in, like, if Tesla was Facebook, then you'd be like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, that would be weird.
That would just confuse you.
Interestingly, I've been really getting on board with where Facebook has taken their platform now. They're going to get really big into live video. They're going to basically create a YouTube, what I would say is a YouTube killer.
You know what? There's a big fight going on between YouTube and Facebook. And you look, there's 2 points to this. Facebook are very good with, if you go on your phone and you go on a video, you can just scroll the videos, and they're related. They use artificial intelligence. I prefer that to YouTube, as in like mindless scrolling and finding videos. YouTube do big documentaries and like creators and stuff like that. But Facebook, people post on Facebook first and then YouTube. People would rather watch it on Facebook because that's how they find it. Got 2 billion users. There's a big fight going on. And then Google's fighting Amazon over Alexa and that Google.
Oh, the Amazon Alexa speaker, the virtual assistant. Yeah. So that Google are doing that, but now Apple's wading in and doing it as well.
In a way, it kind of irritates me.
More competition's better for the consumer.
The thing it is, but you've got to think, where are the smartest and brightest minds in the world going right now? Facebook, Amazon, Google. And they're all fighting over one section. Now, if they kind of said, right, let's make a few subdivisions and let's tackle, for example, the $700 billion a year freight industry just in the US alone, logistics. Let's tackle...
I don't know, because the problem you got is because they're tech companies and they know they're staying in the social media
the thing
market.
is they're butting heads with each other and you're getting like
Amazon could legitimately go, you know what, fuck it.
They are doing with Whole Foods.
Yeah, so they did that Whole Foods.
They're taking on Walmart. I respect Amazon the most out of it. With Facebook and Google, they're kind of just and Apple. They're pinning heads against each other.
Well, Apple's an interesting one because they just basically make desirable tech for people.
Well, they're a hardware company, but the thing people don't realize is iTunes makes them billions of dollars a year. They don't have any sort of.
They don't have a competitor to Facebook or Twitter or anything like that. They don't have anything like that whatsoever.
They don't, but they have the technological ability to be able to branch off into multiple different...
I think they've done the smart thing.
Drones?
I think they've done the smart thing.
Apple would do really well with drones.
They make good amount of tech. So they just make really good looking, really good working tech. And that's what they specialize in. Facebook obviously is specializing in the content,
connecting people,
etc. Twitter has always been like, it's about news, so it's news stuff is coming out.
Twitter's not, you can't compare Twitter and Facebook because the difference is
the two are poles apart. But the interesting thing is that, you know, I Twitter for this podcast has just been the most engaging by far. I mean, that's our largest audience is Twitter.
Yeah, no, the argument goes there is the fact that Twitter is very popular. It is globally recognized.
I just don't think it makes as much money.
Even how can you monetize 140 characters?
True. Well, they're going to be. Apparently they're trialing it to extend to 280.
Yeah, but the thing is, at what point does it then become Facebook? Well, so the thing that Twitter did that was really good is they limited the amount you could. So you had to be even more ingenuitive than you were before.
And they're doing now with their specialist app inside of Twitter is something called Periscope, which allows you to do live streaming. So example of that, a company that runs a podcast is MMAfighting.com, which is its own website. So it's a website, and also they do their own YouTube channel, and now they do live streaming on Twitter. So I could watch MMAfighting.com on Twitter.
Ah.
So what Twitter's doing is they're basically going
in the
back
TV,
door. They're going in the back door for TV, for basically live streaming stuff. So YouTube didn't capitalize on live streaming as well as they could have. Twitch came along and they hit them quite hard, and then YouTube kind of did live streaming, and live streaming still happens on YouTube, but it's not as big a market as Twitch streaming, because Twitch you get quite heavily incentivized with money basically, because you can become a Twitch partner and they give you loads of money.
Why do you think
Twitter
that is?
Doing it now for completely. They're just letting you do it for free.
Why is it this weird phenomenon where a company gets to that level where they stop changing as quickly, they stop innovating as much, so a new startup has to always come along and basically do something way better? Do you see like Twitch and Twitter, for example?
Yeah.
And then what happens is the bigger companies end up buying the little ones.
That's
Instagram's a great example.
Yeah, Instagram and Facebook. Yeah. That's the best example. Where Instagram used to be like, we just let people, we let photographers post their photos, and then it changed. And then when cameras started going onto phones, it would just let people be able to just post as much as they wanted.
Can you believe that though? 50-person company. They were less than a year old, and they basically just said, you know what? If someone uploads a picture and it's got a filter on it, that would be a great idea.
It was a great idea. It made a lot of money. It still makes a lot of money. And Facebook
people just look at themselves and just go, "How fucking? I'm here slaving away."
Yeah,
and they fucking they put together a bunch of pictures, like a small algorithm, and they make $1 billion out of it. It's
it's a great idea. I mean, there's other stuff that needs to be with social media that needs to be done. I think the live streaming content is the next war we'll see, and I think that's going to be Facebook, Twitter,
it depends.
And YouTube are going to fight over it hard.
Why is Facebook so popular?
It's because everyone uses it.
Well, how did everyone begin to use it? The level of growth they had was absolutely ridiculous.
It was the way they were able to connect. I mean, what they did was they piggybacked off of our already existing social dynamics. So they just basically, and then what they did
tapped into a primal need to be in social groups, and then what they did is when you put a picture up, for example, of you and your baby or whatever on Facebook, and other people liked it, it was a virtual form of social validation.
What I'd like to say is I absolutely hate it when people put pictures of their babies up on Facebook.
This is why I pointed this out.
Yeah, I fucking hate that. Yeah. I really don't like that.
Yeah,
because I
remember it's a few photos are good.
Or
like if you do a few, I'm happy with that. But if every single thing you post, every day is about your baby, I'm hiding your posts. We're still going to be friends. I'm not going to see that. I'm just going to hide. Like I made my Facebook completely streamlined now. I only see shit in regards to tech, business, investment.
What about me?
Pardon?
What about me?
You're on there. Of course you're on there.
I don't do statuses anymore.
No, I don't. I can't remember the last time I did statuses.
I hate doing statuses.
Who does? When was the last time you saw a status on Facebook?
I don't know. I've seen some people.
It's all pictures and videos now. It's all gone to pictures and videos.
Pictures, videos. I mean, this is what I'm saying. Live streaming will just be perfect. But one thing I have a real pet peeve for, there's two ones here, and this is some people will agree with me definitely on this. People who make accounts for their children.
No, it's the other way around now. The children make accounts for their parents.
No. So it's parents of our generation, our generation who have just had kids, make accounts for their kids.
Why?
Exactly.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, it's a real thing. I've seen that happen too many times.
Why is that a thing?
I don't know whether it's like they're trying to create it so it's like a memory log, so it logs all of the photos and events and things.
Have you ever seen a picture of you when you were younger? You feel
I look
so embarrassed. You're there like, what
I was
the
a
fuck?
right little skinny scrote. I was an ugly cunt. Real. And I used to have the stupid fucking jumper I used to wear. Oh, and I used to. It was so many stupid shit I used to do when I was a kid. I used to have hair. It was ridiculous. And then the other thing that's my pet peeve is joint Facebook accounts of couples.
No.
Yeah,
is that a thing?
Joint Facebook accounts for couples, and you know why?
I've heard about that.
It's because people are just too jealous. They don't want to let them have privacy.
No.
Yeah, it's to be like, oh, so let's say for example, you and your girlfriend had an account together, so you both would have access to it, so you could see exactly what you two have been talking to.
Because
other
that's
people
not
about.
in any way controlling.
That's super controlling. That freaks me the fuck out.
That's kind of like, hey, let's do this so I don't have to kill you because I am. What the fuck?
Yeah, that is uber levels of jealousy. Uber levels of jealousy.
There's a level of insecurity there with jealousy and stuff like that, and I can't deny everyone I think has felt jealousy at some point in some way. But acting on it in that way is absolutely ridiculous and completely.
I agree. I think it's ridiculous.
How would you be with a partner if you don't trust them? And how would you be able to? No, just
there needs to be an element.
You've got to trust them. If you don't trust them, don't be with them.
Yeah, there needs to be an element of you need to just let them because trust is the important bit.
You've got to have
no trust.
That level of kind of like.
But then here's the counter argument, Mickey. But we don't need if we truly trust each other, then you would just have a joint account, huh? Because it doesn't matter. It's not like you're going to be doing anything, is it?
No, but like it's like someone like let's say you're having a shower and someone's like looking at you.
Oh no, I don't mind it when my girlfriend looks at me
all the time.
Yeah, it's fine.
So if I was a floating head and I would just look at you all the time.
But it's different to you, mate, because you're a man, and also you're not my girlfriend.
Okay. If it was Lily,
that's fine.
And then you're
not floating head.
You're going everywhere.
Oh,
everything.
I couldn't be with her. No, like so. I love my girlfriend to pieces, but I cannot be with her 24 hours a day. And she'll say the same thing to me.
This is the thing with Facebook. This is like it's a version of that. If you have a shared account, you know who you're talking to. You know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly. So it is almost like someone is literally doing that 24/7. We have really, as far as evolution goes, we don't know what the fuck we're doing with social media. Because before, let's say you were pissed off, you would at your girlfriend, you would like be angry letter. You have betrayed my trust and blah 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 blah. Send it.
Oh, I don't know. No, what you do is you like beat her savagely. I mean, that's what I used to do. Fucking hell. We're gonna talk about that. If we're gonna fucking say about the past, then yeah, they used to fucking beat women. Unfortunately, that's the horrific thing about it.
Oh, I don't know why I laughed. That is really sad.
Social
really
media. Social media is nowadays. When you look at it, you're like. The bit that scares me is when I see like a really young kid who's on their phone, is on like an iPhone, let's say, and they're on it and they're glued to the fucking thing. It's one of our friends is a baby, and we were looking after the baby, and I put my phone and just like anyone who's got this iPhone locked screen, right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing flashing, so it's this screen.
Yeah.
So it's that screen.
Yeah.
Right, I put that in front of her face. Her eyes just went, and she started smiling, the little baby. And I was like, "What the hell?"
No.
Then I looked into it in more detail. You know these screens here, they're designed to release a drug in your brain called dopamine, which is the one that makes you feel happy.
How?
It's the light. So also that's why they say if you want to go to sleep. So you know how hard it is sometimes. You've just been watching loads of shit on Netflix.
It's because of the actual light itself.
It's the dopamine levels have been raised up. You need to drop your dopamine levels down.
That's why you should never go to sleep straight after.
Exactly. So even if you watch TV, there's still a bit of it. It's worse with more like phones and laptops and iPads because they've got special screen lights. Now, whether that's
scary, man.
Whether it's deliberate or whether it's an accident doesn't really matter because the effect is the same. But basically, it's like you'll see the effect of the child to a child. that thing is creating happiness. So they're immediately always going to associate.
That's going to be a level
thing.
of addiction that
It's
we've
an addiction.
not previously been able to comprehend. This
There's only
is
addiction-
not something where there's a few alcoholics or there's a few. This is the entire planet.
Well, everyone's got a phone.
Yeah.
Every single adult on this planet probably has a phone.
Well, out of anything else.
Bar what? 1 million? I'd say 1 million people don't have a phone. The rest do.
I like the fact that we're that connected and stuff, but you're right. Companies get so much money and so much from our interest. It's in their best interest to do so. So they will make it as addictive as possible. The problem with that is when something is that addictive.
Well, it's like jingles.
That you just completely
look at radio jingles. Look at advertising songs.
Have you realized how in songs they play sometimes a text message from an iPhone, the tone that you get?
Yeah, and you instantly know it, and then you go.
That's an instant dopamine rush.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, message.
Yeah. They do it.
It's
with,
wrong. I don't think
like,
it's right.
Catchy songs. So jingle songs on radio was to get your attention. So you'd sing continuously about Dave's gutterings, and then when you need your guttering to be done, you go to Dave. That's why. That's the whole point. It's to create that sort of like thing of when you think about something, it makes you think of the thing that they're wanting you to think of, basically. Whether that is now visual, which it is nowadays, or whether that was audio.
It's crazy. I'll tell you a story in regards to that. So we had iPhones came out when I was about 16.
Yeah.
07.
Yeah, I think it was about then.
07. So
amazing, early 2000s. It's been like 10 years that been going.
Yeah, so 3 years before that was. So basically, I went out with a girl. This is about 2 years ago. This is before I met my current girlfriend.
Here's the story.
And she was. I was. How old was I? 22.
Okay.
And then she was 19.
Oh dear. Okay.
So we're going to the club, not the club, sorry. We're going to Revs in town. And we just start chatting, and then her phone goes off, and then she just straight away checks her phone.
Yeah.
Like this is just as we sat down, and then puts it back, and I'm like, okay. Like personally, I'm not one of those people that kind of likes that a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, we start chatting, and then the phone goes off again on Facebook or something like that. So she just picks up the phone mid conversation, laughs,
starts just.
Yeah, and I'm like, the second I should, I'm like, okay, we're hanging out. I would prefer it if you didn't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't consider it very nice. And then it goes off again like 2 minutes later, and she goes on again, and I'm like, I'm sure you're a lovely girl.
She can't help it.
Sure. The thing is,
you can't help it. That's the thing.
Like,
because it's a drug you create.
But the thing is, you need to have that level of control to be able to.
Oh yeah, that's what. So I've done with my phone is I've turned off notifications on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
That's smart.
I
need to do steps
decide.
like that.
I decide when I want to take the information.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. It's not that the phone prompts me to look at it.
It's not you're a slave to your phone. It's whenever you decide to. That's when you get.
So if I go, oh fuck, I want to look at Facebook, I will then, and then I'll see the notifications on Facebook.
Yep.
The thing I might do now is I might even Messenger. I might turn, because I still have Messenger on, but that's because people want to get in contact with me on Messenger. So I might even do it on Messenger. But I'm a bit dubious of doing it on Messenger, if I'm honest.
That's the best. I get most of the best way to get a hold of him is either text or WhatsApp about it. But you're right. People don't see this as a big issue, but this is going to become an issue insurmountably large. So people need to do steps now to basically say, okay, I will go on my phone, but I will stop the notifications. I'll do it this way. I'll do it that way. Because people on average spend like 2 hours on their phone a day or something.
That's what they used to do with TV. So TV is like, this is basically what is happening.
But this is more dangerous than TV, because if you get a text while driving,
you're dead. Well, it's like if you watch TV while you're driving, you're dead.
Yeah, but who would watch TV whilst they're driving?
People who drive Land Rovers? Range Rovers? Mercedes?
Until they get driverless cars, mate. I guess that's the thing
legit.
people will have to do.
I love how people keep banging on about, like, oh, driverless cars are not going to cause that much impact, blah, 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 blah. I don't know, mate. Any sort of time where you have a completely autonomous system, it's going to cause a massive shift. Look at the textile industry that in Yorkshire, where it just massively declined as soon as we automated textile.
Oh, there's no two ways about it. I think Jack Ma summed it up perfectly. I'm going to be painfully depressing in a minute. He basically said, we are in for a very painful 30 years in terms of actual social change and job reduction and stuff like that. It's if we get past those 30 years, then is when like the tension will go, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what's happening now is there's a lot of people losing their jobs, but the jobs are getting replaced. So more there's been more pressure put on welfare systems and stuff like that to cope. So people are like, oh well, no, the unemployment rate in the UK is 4%. I was like, you've got 0-hour contracts. If someone works 1 hour a month, they are employed.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So you're basically, what you're doing is trying to skew figures, and they're trying to basically bury as much shit under the rug. People are soon going to realize that, holy shit, there's like a load of us not working right now. And then they're going to be like, that's going to grow more and more in sentiment, and then the government will be forced to enforce legislation, either like what Bill Gates is suggesting is like a robot tax. So a robot replaces you, but then that robot pays tax instead of you do, and then that tax goes towards
the betterment of society.
Yeah.
Interesting. Even though a robot doesn't have to claim on the state.
Exactly, but it's a way to kind of like, because companies will realize how much more beneficial it is to replace you with a robot. They'll do that. They'll save a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
So to stop that all going towards just profit, basically say no, because, you know, labor is one of the largest forms of taxable income. The largest form of tax.
Well, most people are employed in that term. I mean, retail. When you look at it, retail, labouring, hospitality make up the vast majority of employment.
Which is
also,
ironically,
in Britain. Sorry, I'm going to counter that. It's actually running your own business
is the highest.
It's the highest one. So people, but then this is the stupid thing. People who run their own business, however, they're people who work for a company. So like a contractor.
Mm-hmm.
That they're brought in for a contract, but it's only for 1 year.
Yeah, yeah.
Or however many months, basically. 6 months, 12 months, 18, 24, etc. But they might as well just be an employee.
No,
but I understand.
This is a way to get around multiple laws in terms of providing healthcare, retirement funds, loads of things like that.
Yeah, it's a massive. Apparently, it saves companies loads of money.
Yeah, it does.
However, but that's only in the short term. It saves them money, not in the long term. So if the project knocks on for further than, I think if it's longer than 2 years,
then it becomes
then the contractor that you then have costs you too much money because you have to pay him higher. You have to pay him higher wages. That's why. So if you're a contract, because the contractor system is that also you don't have to pay as much tax. If you're a contractor, you don't have to pay as much taxes, but you don't. But then you have to pay for your own pension, and all sorts of stuff,
which is dangerous in terms of like, especially if people can't save. They're contracted their entire life. They turn 60 and 70. Okay, what are your contributions to your pension? And then they're basically going to become someone who won't be able to sustain themselves.
Yeah, and they have to rely on just their state pension, which is a horrifically low amount.
Tiddly. It's fucking tiddly. You would have to move country.
Well, even if you moved, you wouldn't get your pension.
What is the state pension? Do you know?
It's like 16 grand
a year.
Yeah, I think so. It's ridiculous.
You know what the kicker is there?
Yeah.
If I moved to Macedonia, that would constitute to 4 times the average wage.
It's weird, isn't it? But this is Britain. I mean, like, it's an interesting place.
Yeah, but what that's doing is that's basically not having enough to survive on here, but enough to survive in other countries, especially with your pension. What's that going to do? That's going to create a massive amount of people leaving the UK, claiming their state pension.
So sometimes they do. So if they're expats who've moved to Spain, Portugal, that's the system that normally works. Because they've got, but then they have, but usually when they do that, they've got savings. And they don't live, like a state pension isn't something you live off of, really. It's like a top up.
Not in the UK.
You live off of your actual pension that you pay from your wages.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's like, I can understand the points of, like, you know, there should be a state pension, 100% should be. But, you know, should it also be that there should be a pension that's based off of how much you put away in the pension account? Yeah, maybe. Maybe there should be, because, you know,
yeah.
I've got a fairly good pension system going with my work. It's pretty good. Where I think I contribute 5% of my wage, and then the company pays 10%.
Yeah, same. That's like the new pension scheme where whatever you put in
was 3 and I think it was 3 and 9 or 3 and 6. Sorry, no, what my pension was 3 and 6. So I put 3 in and they put 6 in. Now it's 5 and 10.
I'm just thinking theoretically, if you put your money in the market, what's the average pension account is like £250,000?
It's quite a lot.
So
Well, the thing is that you put it into the pension. The pension funds that hold them, then they invest that money. So that's how they can. And
that's how they make it. Yeah, they basically invested. That's why there's trillions of dollars in mutual funds and ETFs in America and stuff like that, and the UK is because they get pension funds and they basically just invest it and stuff. But that's a very, very good way to basically lose a bunch of people's fucking pensions, which is a lot of bullshit happened in 2008 where just banks collapsed, fucking bullshit. They had to sell pensions and.
That's why the government bailed them out to keep them so that people could get their pensions out.
It's crazy. It's like basically saying like I'm a dude now. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want because if I fall, everyone else does. So it's basically saying,
I can see that. But then the problem was that some of the banks were so big. Yeah, but they're
not The Big Short.
Huh?
Have you seen The Big Short?
The Big Short.
Short.
Big Short. No, I've not heard of this.
Oh, it's a really good movie with Christian Bale and what's his name? The guy off Evan Almighty. What's he called?
Steve Colbert. No. It's not Steve Colbert. Sorry. No. Oh fuck. What's he called?
Steve Carell.
It's not Steve Carell.
It is.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's not Steve Carell.
It is Steve Carell.
Right, let's find out. Anyway, keep going about what the plot of the film is.
So the plot of the film is basically to talk about the '08 crash and what happened with the subprime mortgage crisis and stuff like that. They just explain it really fucking well, and it follows a group of people who actually were. It's a true story and how they spotted it before anyone else and how they shorted loads of.
It was Steve Carell.
Was that? I knew it was. I knew it.
I feel a bit sad. Fucking hell, what an idiot.
But yeah, really good film in regards to that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I think there's a Twitter. Yeah, there is a Twitter account. There's a Twitter account that that counts down. So they give you a live or not live, but like a they tweet on the exact day and time of when banks and other stuff went bust. So they went JP Morgan just lost, boom, this many shares. His tweets it now. So every year.
It was crazy at the speed at which it happened.
Yeah, that's what happens with economic depression.
Especially in a capitalistic system where everything's so hardwired. Literally, one thing falls that's big, and then it just creates a chain reaction.
The thing about pensions is that it's really good for leveling the system out because you got the cushion of the amount, because you have loads of money that's just sat there.
Not doing anything, yeah.
Doing very little, because what they do is they invest it in very low risk stuff.
And then you just keep it there.
So what it does is it acts like a buoyancy aid against the rest of the market plummeting.
Yeah, but the thing is, if that buoyancy aid gets taken out, people's pensions
it has to be a big crash. That's where we're talking like Wall Street crash level. Or the recent one. But the recent one wasn't too bad in the pension market. The pension market didn't really get hit much. It was more property market got fucked.
Oh, the property market got fucking
That's because people were selling shit stupidly.
And then the banks were just like, we can't lend any more loans out to anyone. So businesses just tanked. They're just like, we can't get any more money.
Can't get business loans. And then they were calling back on the business loans, trying to get the money back as well.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised everyone wants to become a millionaire, because that's how you basically get rid of all the bullshit.
Oh, here's an interesting thing about that. This cued in my mind when you said that. There's a guy who did an interview. He did interviews, with people in less affluent places in America. So like Compton in LA.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, if you could have anything, what do you want? And do you know what the vast majority of people said?
Money.
They said one specific value, however.
$1 million.
$1 million.
Which is
nothing.
Fucking piddle change.
It's nothing. Like, what can you do? $1 million, if you think about it, $1 million is £750,000.
To put it this way, if
you could buy a house, but then you got to keep that house.
You've got to get the mortgage, you pay the mortgage. You pay.
If you buy it outright, even then, you got problems.
Like, the thing is, you could theoretically speaking, let's say you got it for 750 grand in the UK, and you went and bought, 3 houses for 200 grand, one house for 150 grand. And then you rented one of the rooms in one of the houses and rented the rest of the houses out. Your income would be about 30 grand a year.
Yeah.
So then you could live off that. The thing is, people have a misconception. Like 98% of all the people who've won like the normal national lottery go bankrupt after 3 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Because they're like, I'm rich, I have $1 million. I'm like, no, you're not. No.
No, it's not that you're rich. It's that you have more money than you did before, but not enough.
But your self-worth isn't adjusted to the amount of money
if you had like $20 million, or £20 million, whatever, then we're talking like, okay, now you
can retire.
Now you can be rich.
Yeah.
Now we can say you're rich.
Yeah.
But if you don't, you don't. I mean, there's no...
20 million is when you're getting to... in the UK, apparently anything under 5 million, and you're not even considered a millionaire.
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really
it's because
weird.
a million is no longer what it used to be. Because in the UK, there's... I'm going to plug my brain here. About 330,000 millionaires based off assets.
Yeah.
So based off your house, your pension, your car, everything in total is a million. But then you got to 5 million, and that number whittles down incredibly quickly.
Probably
too.
halves.
More than that, but it goes into the thousands, tens of thousands.
Oh, sure. So there's an exponential rate.
Yeah, and then for example, 10 million, way smaller. 100 million, fucking
2. That's like Richard Branson, and he's not even in England.
No, well, Richard Branson's worth 3.7 billion.
He owns his own. He owns his own island.
He's actually Richard Branson's is like the 400 richest person on the planet.
That's insane that he's only 400. I bet he gets mad. He looks at 399 guy and goes, "Fuck you."
Yeah, well, no.
I want to be in the 400. I don't want to be on the outside.
To get into the top 20 in the world, you need in excess of 40 billion.
Man, you have to be a Rothschild or something.
So no. There's loads of people that.
Do you know how I'd do it? I'd go and hunt all of the people who are like the sub-millionaires, take all their money, steal all their money, and then lump it all together.
I'd just do it the way everyone pretty much on the top 20 did it, which is by starting up a company.
Or
Facebook. Jeff Bezos just become the richest man in the world.
Is this guy who owns Amazon?
Yeah.
Does he own Amazon still, or is it a public company?
There's a statistic. So day before yesterday, I think Jeff Bezos made $4 billion in 5 minutes.
That's scary, isn't it? Imagine if we could do that with a podcast. I mean, we do a podcast that's about an hour long. In 5 minutes' time of us just chatting shit, we could have made quite a lot of money. Yeah, it's interesting. It is interesting.
You've got to be in that. The world is changing so quickly in terms of logistics, in terms of.
But you look at the people. There's people who are towards the top of the pile when it comes to like anything. Like there's people who are at the top of the pile when it comes to business. But then there's people that they probably look at people like, oh yeah, great, I've got all this money, but I'm fucking not. I ain't happy. Like Steve Jobs was super like, I hate it. If I could go back, he said, I think he was like, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't have started Apple.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's scary when you think about it.
It's crazy how people do that. He said on his deathbed, he said, when you've made that much money to never have to worry about it again, you should focus your life on pursuing other habits, because otherwise it will make you a sick and twisted being just like I am.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
But then you look at I'd say you look at somebody like, and this is quite topical actually, Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
Heavyweight boxer.
Yeah.
Just, knocked out
Klitschko.
Takam. Because that was his first title defense. It was meant to be against Pulev, but Pulev pulled out, so it was against a French guy called Takam.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his first name, unfortunately. 20th career win for Anthony Joshua. Knocked him out. A lot of people said it was an early stoppage, but anyway. But you look at him, like he is the top of the pile when it comes to boxing.
Yeah.
Like he's the biggest draw in boxing probably now. But he's very humble about it. He still lives with his mum in a council house.
No.
Yeah, all he has is a Range Rover.
He bought a Ferrari, as far as I'm aware, recently.
He bought himself. I think he was given. No, he was given a Range Rover, but that's it. Like all his money from boxing, he just goes, I'm just put it in a saving account.
In a savings account?
Yeah, I think he just puts it away, like somewhere, or he very shrewdly gets it invested by a business partner. But I mean, Jesus Christ! I mean, he's so like. He still lives with his mum in a council house in London. I always think like if you try going
at least move out, didn't you get like 20 million for the Klitschko fight?
I think he just loves his mum too much. I think he just but it's just not. It's not like that's fine. Like that's his. Shtick.
No, but he could move in with his mum.
Yeah, what's the point? Why?
He's comfortable.
House. No, he's comfortable where he is. His mum's got a nice council house, apparently, so I'd love it if anyone tried to go around there and rob him. Oh, yeah, this guy's got a lot of money. Hang on, why is this a council house in the middle of London? Oh, fuck. And he's just the massive black guy just going, you know what? I'm going to fuck your day up, son. Slams you, like, basically just plants you into the ground like you're an upside-down tree. But, like, you look at him, like, he's the pinnacle of heavyweight boxing right now.
Mm-hmm.
mostly because of his insane work ethic. I mean, he has, his technical level and his physical level.
It's all about the work ethic.
And his entire drive is, I'm going to be the best boxer that I can possibly be. And you look at MMA champions, like UFC champions, and they've got the same sort of thing.
It's that drive. It's the why. It's why are you doing this? Or why are you doing that? If you have a strong enough why, you will get past the doubt and the bullshit.
You know what George St. Pierre's was?
Got
fear. He was always afraid when he fought.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like, he was always afraid when he fought people. Like, he would continuously, he used to tell people, like, he was scared, he was nervous, he was anxious. Everything he did was he would deliberately do. Like, he'd prepare himself to be the best he could, but he was always had the element of fear in the back of his head.
Was it, do you think, an insecurity from getting bullied as a child?
Yes, because he was bullied as a child. And that's why he took up karate, and then he became a bouncer. And then he got into doing jiu-jitsu. He used to travel from Canada. He used to travel all the way down to New York to train at Renzo Gracie's.
No.
He didn't speak any English.
No.
So when he used to try and pay John Danaher is the legendary fucking one of the first black belts of
jiu-jitsu
of Renzo Gracie.
Yeah.
So Renzo Gracie gave John Danaher his black belt.
Yeah.
When he tried to give John Danaher something like $200 for a class. And John Danaher was like, "No, mate, it's not $200. It's less than $200." And George was like, "No." They couldn't communicate because George didn't speak any English.
Yeah.
So through the guys in New York, he learned to speak English, and he got his black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
No.
George St. Pierre is a fucking insane character.
Yeah.
You know what he does now for all of his training? He does a lot now is gymnastics.
Yeah.
Gymnastics training. Yeah, he's a scary athlete. He's going to be fighting Bisping in November, which is going to be that's going to be an interesting fight. It's going to be a really interesting fight.
He's got stamina for days, as Bisping, hasn't he?
Bisping's, I told you before, his resting heart rate is 35, 36.
Yeah.
It's an insane thing. His cardiovascular system is one of the most optimized the planet probably has ever seen. And that's why he can recover. Yeah, he's only got he had one eye almost kicked out of his skull by Vitor Belfort when Vitor Belfort was on fucking all the drugs.
Yeah.
And I mean all of the drugs. So yeah, he can't. But then you've got the problem is that Bisping's always been like a really good striker. Maybe not a knockout artist, but a very high output fighter. I mean, for 3-5 rounds, he puts out a shit ton of damage.
GSP is good at
GSP is exceptionally good
takedowns,
at taking him down and wrestle fucking people.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestle fucking is my favorite term for.
But then again, Bisping's really good at takedown defense.
He's gotten a lot better at takedown defense. A lot better because he's had to fight wrestlers in the middleweight division.
Bisping would want the fight to stand up.
Oh yeah, but I think George probably could stand up as well. It's not like George is a bad stand-up fighter.
He's good at kicker. He's a very good.
He's a very good jabber as well. His straight punch, like what he did to Josh Koscheck.
Brawling though, Bisping would be better.
Bisping when you see when Bisping gets like hurt,
mm-hmm.
and when his opponents get hurt as well, when the exchange basically becomes damaging, and both people are going to be damaged. He weathers the damage better because of his very good cardiovascular system. So he can take the damage. He can recover from.
One punch can knock you out, and
Well, you look at what he did to Luke Rockhold. Look at how Bisping got the middleweight world championship was a lucky inverted commas punch where he knocked out Luke Rockhold, and he caught him with a check left hook or a Euro hook. Yet? He defended against Dan Henderson.
Did he beat him?
Yes, but Dan Henderson dropped 2 H-bombs on his head
because they do not like. They
hate each other. You know, Dan Henderson still has his shorts on as the logo on his shorts is him flying through the air, smashing Bisping in the ground.
When Bisping was down and he went on top, and that was a fucking shot and a half.
They hate each other because they were the Ultimate Fighter coaches, and they used to really not get on to each other.
They really hate each other. Yeah.
Do you know what is an interesting thing I heard about Dan Henderson? His manager used to give him massages. And he said, I used to get exhausted trying to massage Dan Henderson.
Why?
He's like a piece of mahogany. Because he's so stiff. But when you look at him, you're like, yeah, it makes sense. Because when he hits you, it's like a 2x4 is smashing you in the face.
So Bisping managed to get 2 of those overhand rights. He
took 2 H-bombs to the head.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
He kept going.
Yeah, he kept going.
Did he knock him out?
No, it was a decision.
Oh.
But you could. I
would have loved to have. I'm gonna go watch that fight.
It's a good. Yeah. Look, what I'd recommend: UFC Fight Pass, £5 a month, and you can watch all of the UFCs.
Even the ones that are just coming up. Oh, those are pay-per-views, aren't they?
So some of them are pay-per-views, some of them aren't. But you can watch the prelims at least. But here's the stuff that makes it even better: you can watch all the Pride fights. You can watch
Nice.
You can watch all of the Strikeforce fights. You can watch EBI grappling.
Yep.
And Glory kickboxing.
That's a lot of fighting in it.
That's a lot. £5 a month, and you can get it on your Xbox. You can get it on you can laptop.
So if you use affiliate scheme, gentlemen's debate.
No,
we're joking. We don't have that.
We don't have an affiliate with them guys. It'd be nice too.
We should.
But we don't have an affiliate with them. But I would honestly recommend anyone who's into their MMA, kickboxing, grappling, etc. UFC Fight Pass. Just £5 a month and just have it. It'd be good. But I'm really looking forward to this fight. I mean, there was a lot of action this weekend. Yeah. Loads of action this weekend. You had Anthony Joshua versus Takam, which is the first one. You had the UFC... I don't even fucking know what the name was. It's like UFC Fight Night. No, it's just a Fight Night one. And that was the return of Lyoto Machida, where he fought Derek Brunson. Derek Brunson knocked Lyoto.
Machida's back?
Yeah, he was suspended for taking PEDs.
Oh, fuck's sakes, Leo. I had a lot of respect for that dude.
Yeah, he got fucked by Derek Brunson last night, though. He got... his clocked cleaned.
Really?
Yeah, he got fucked. Like, Derek Brunson is a very good...
He's getting on a bit now, is Machida.
Yeah, he needs to retire. That's it. I think he should retire after that. But I don't know if he will. Because he wants to prove that karate is like the premier sort of thing. And I think that for a time, it was. But then look at it...
He was doing really well. Like, he had a very unpredictable fight style.
He won the light heavyweight championship.
You could kick like a motherfucker, yeah.
His kicks, his punches, when he knocked out Ryan Bader, and everyone went, oh my fucking God. That was pure, like, a proper, like, pure karate, like, technique.
Yeah.
It's very good. Very good technique. But he was just so unorthodox. No one had seen, like, a karate striker in the octagon until him. But then you look at guys now, like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, is just an elite level kickboxer who comes from a karate style. You look at Gunnar Nelson, another karate fighter. Like, the karate fighters are just they're more of them are coming out now, but they're having to adapt.
So it's kind of like adapting some forms. Yeah, that's the thing I like about MMA, because you can get like a bit of everything and just conjoin it together.
A lot of the stuff that's been happening now, especially in the women's divisions, has been the explosion of Muay Thai fighters. Yeah. So women's Muay Thai fighters and women's boxers, they've moved from those circles because, well, they don't pay you any fucking money. Like, the pay in them is terrible. Yeah. Like, you don't get anywhere near.
UFC is the only payday in women's.
In women's combat sports, it's starting to be like that. Yeah, I mean, like, you can kind of argue that maybe some of the really high level kickboxing tournaments. But the problem is, like, you need to have the money in the bank to, like, live and shit. So, like, they get, like, you look at Joanna Jędrzejczyk or Valentina Shevchenko. Uh-huh. They were both ex-Muay Thai world champions, and they went into MMA, and now they're some of the best MMA fighters on the planet. Joanna Jędrzejczyk is possibly the scariest women's fighter going. I mean, like, I used to have a real good thing. Like, I used to have a real thing about Ronda Rousey. Like, everyone's like, oh yeah, Ronda Rousey, you know, best women. But then when Holly Holm kicked her face off, everyone went, oh my God, what the hell just happened? Because everyone's like, idol just died. Yeah, basically. Yeah, it was horrific. But then when she came back and fought Amanda Nunes, and Amanda Nunes did absolute work against her. And the worst bit for me was that the UFC didn't then just go, Amanda Nunes is the star. Like, you look at Amanda Nunes, she is a great sort of role model for the LGBTQ plus. Thank you very much. Area, because she is gay, she's a lesbian, and her girlfriend is her training partner in the same weight division. So they both fight in the UFC.
No,
I think she's the same weight division, and she's the one below her. Yeah, but they live together, and, like, I don't understand why they're not, like, being hailed as a big, because, like, that's a group that the UFC is not really tapped into.
Well, I think the UFC in general is struggling to back anyone at the moment. They're struggling to get a name behind it.
John Jones came back, and they were like, when he knocked out, when he head kicked flipping Daniel Cormier, They were all like, yes, he's back.
And then, he's
There's the drugs. Oh, damn. Now GSP's coming back. But the thing is, I'll say about GSP coming back.
What next? Are they going to get Chuck Liddell coming back?
He's not that much of a draw. Like, GSP is not that much of a draw.
He's not a very exciting fighter, but he is one of the biggest. He was one of the biggest draws in UFC as far as
Do you know why? Canada. Everyone in Canada would watch him fight.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
No one else wants to watch him fight.
But there's a lot of people in Canada.
There is a lot of people in Canada. But not anymore. But not compared to the...
not anymore. Nuked them all.
But not compared to like the rest of the world that's been engaged by the UFC.
Yeah, you still get other people watching it. But
Bisping's
I know what
and this pains me to say it, being a fellow Englishman as well as Bisping, but Bisping isn't a pay-per-view draw either. He's not a Conor McGregor, is he? I mean, he chats a lot of shit. He does chat so much shit.
He hasn't got the same charisma as
No, because he comes off... Well, the issue also is that he comes off as a drunk.
A bit of a dick, yeah.
He comes off as a drunk as well.
Does he?
Yeah, because he does like a drink. He does like a drink. He does like a drink. But like that's every British person there. So I don't know why British people aren't more supportive of him.
I think Conor McGregor's cornered the market perfectly. He's like a
He's got the UFC by the fucking short and curlies.
Oh, he could do anything. He could basically get up right now, go to Dana White's house, have a shit on his dining table, and I
don't know. He probably could whip his dick out and smack someone in the face with it, and nothing's gonna happen. There was a thing where I said about it in the last podcast where he got up out of his seat when Artem Lobov, his training partner from Straight Blast Gym in Ireland, was fighting Andre Feely. Getting his ass kicked basically. And basically Conor was getting out of his seat and trying to corner him, but then Mark Goddard, the referee, was like, "Get the fuck down! You need to sit down. You're not a cornerman."
Yeah.
But then Conor was hurling homophobic slurs at Andre Feely. I think he was calling him basically a faggot.
Really?
Yeah, and like. He kind of got called out for a bit, but then it just went away. And I was just a bit like, well,
oh dear.
Admittedly, calling somebody a faggot in Britain compared to somebody calling a faggot in America is different. Like, we use terminology that's a lot different, like twat and stuff like that. We use terms that, like, swearing for us is second nature.
You can also say it's because of his popularity and it's because of how big he is that they're kind of like making this stuff go away.
Oh yeah, no, because like he's the premier UFC star. There's no one else.
What happens if he loses?
No Ronda. Well, he already has lost.
I mean, like again to Nate Diaz.
This is why I'm saying he shouldn't fight Nate. This is why I'm saying he should fight Tony Ferguson.
Because if he loses to Nate, then it could be like
that's it. That's the dream. Like what you've got is when you think about it, he fights Tony Ferguson. Yep, because he then defends his belt for the first time. He defends his belt, fights Tony Ferguson. Now, can he beat Tony Ferguson? Arguably, I think he can. Whether that happens or not, we don't know. But let's say he does. So he does. He beats Tony Ferguson. Then you go, okay, what's next? Because also, what was announced recently, Khabib Nurmagomedov is fighting Edson Barbosa in UFC 219. That's going to be a fucking fight.
The thing is, like, I don't think the UFC want to get behind Magomedov. Because
I wouldn't want to, because he's missed weight. He was going to fight Tony Ferguson. Missed weight. He's missed weight so many times, and he's like, you can't back somebody who's that unreliable.
You would think he'd be that dedicated. He'd be the opposite.
Nah, you'd think a Russian would be dedicated, but he's not.
Oh, he's Uzbekistani, isn't he?
Turkestan.
Turkestan, yeah.
Yeah, so but you think he would, but he's not. Like, we'll see what happens against Edson Barbosa. Like, I
thought he was like raring to fight anyone and everyone. That guy.
Apparently not. But when he fights Edson Barbosa, that's going to be a real, like... If he beats Edson Barbosa, then you go, well, what the fuck's next? Then what you could do, and this is the thing that I would go for, I would do Conor versus Tony. So what will happen first of all is it would be Khabib versus Edson Barbosa. That's happening first. Then what you do is you do Conor versus Tony. Whoever wins that will fight Khabib. If it's Conor who wins against Tony... You wouldn't
want Khabib and Conor to fight, though, because then he might actually lose it to Khabib.
But then you have them fight in Russia.
Khabib, that guy's a fucking beast.
Yeah, but is he a beast? But he has problems cutting weight, so he has to cut 155 pounds, and he almost
wait. No, he
died.
has to cut 255 pounds or cut 150.
He has to cut 255 pounds. He almost died the last time he did it. His liver shut down. He had to go to hospital.
How much does he walk around at?
He walks around close to about 100 and I think he walks around close to 200 pounds.
Flipping hell.
I think it's close to. It's not. It's a large amount. But then, like, you know, I told you about Darren Till who beat Donald Cowboy Cerrone. beat the piss out of him, basically.
Yeah.
He said, and he said this honestly, he said, I cut weight from a light heavyweight to fight at welterweight. So he cut from 210 pounds all the way down to 170 pounds.
40 pounds, flipping out.
Yes. He said, it should be illegal. This is Darren Till saying, this should be illegal. I shouldn't be allowed to do this, but I can. He cut all that weight, and he's a big guy.
Because that's the thing, you're fighting against someone who you're technically the same weight, but you're carrying a shit ton more muscle than he is.
And the problem was that Donald Cerrone, he used to be in the lightweight division and then moved up to welterweight.
So he's like an even smaller guy fighting against pretty much a light heavyweight.
Yeah, and Darren Till says, I'm a light heavyweight. Like, I walk around as a light heavyweight. But Darren Till was fucking jacked when he was in that.
Yeah, because he would have had like
octagon.
1% body fat.
When he was in the octagon, he was jacked. The best bit was, and then it was, there's a very prominent guy, shout out to Vinny Shorman. Vinny Shorman, who knows his shit when it comes to English Muay Thai, because he's one of the commentators for Your Cow, which is a big show in Britain, and also Thai, and kind of a subdivision of the Thai organizations. But he I think he put stuff out about like Darren Till being an amazing Muay Thai fighter. He texted Joe Rogan and said, I told you should be watching out for this. This guy had been fighting in Muay Thai since he was 15 years old. He'd been beating grown men since he was 15 years old. He won a kickboxing tournament with a broken foot.
Damn.
And he fought multiple times. He's an insane fighter, is Darren Till. So I have all props.
We could be seeing a lot more.
I have all props to the Scouser. I want to see him fight more. What would happen if because they like during that fight or after the fight? Sorry, Mike Perry, who's also a welterweight, was like fucking lost his shit and started screaming at him at cage side, and Darren Till went over to him, jumped the cage and was like jumped up to the top of the cage and was shouting down at Mike Perry, and then basically they were trying to see if they could organise a fight. I think Mike Perry wanted to try and get on the hype train of Darren Till.
Yeah.
And Mike Perry does hit like a Mack truck. Like when he knocked out Jake Ellenberger, it was an insane knockout. But Darren Till hits like a Mack truck. And what he did because the worst bit what he did to Cowboy is he lead arm elbowed him in the face.
Oh.
In the face. And that's when Donald was like, I'm done. No more. I'm out of here. That's it. No more of that. Elbows to the face. I'm done.
Oh.
But I feel very sorry for Cowboy. And the problem was that he just wanted to fight. And he was asking for the big welterweight names. No one wanted to answer him because it was in Gdansk in Poland and it was only like a fight night card.
Yeah.
So then Darren Till was like, fuck it, I'll fight you. Fuck it, I'll fight you. Then now his thing is like, no, you don't doubt me now. You will not doubt me now.
Is that one of those things where someone's like, who wants a piece of me? And then some massive guy just like, yeah, I'll fight you, yeah.
Darren Till is that massive guy. He is a big old boy, big old Scouser.
Especially for a fighting in that weight division.
Yeah, in the welterweight division. He could go up to middleweight and still not have a problem.
He shouldn't be allowed to that.
No, he shouldn't, but this is the world we live in. Other stuff that happened over the weekend. You had Glory Kickboxing, which is always an exciting one.
Mm-hmm.
Always good to see that. There was a vicious knockout. Where I think it was. I've forgotten the guys. It was bad. I've forgotten. I think it was like Picant or something like that. Got knocked the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like if you want to watch knockouts, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to watch if you're like, I hate MMA when they go to the ground and they start grappling. Just watch kickboxing. Because then you can punch, kick, and knee people.
It is pretty.
That's what you want, and that's the knockouts. The knockouts are where they are. That's why when me and Sam went to Nico's fight night, it was really exciting because you had a good mix of boxing and kickboxing, and some of it was really good. Some of those fighters were fucking great. It was great to watch some of them. You're like, oh my god, someone's going home.
Yeah.
Someone's going home on a stretcher. Oh, and then when one of them got knocked down, I flipping lost my shit. I was like, yes, this is what I came here for. This is why I'm in here Huddersfield.
My bloodlust is satisfied.
Yes. Yeah, and then, I mean, this is what's going to happen when we go to the December. For Cage.
December the
when
2nd.
we go, December the 2nd. When we go to Cage Steel 19. We're going to be, there, and we're going to be flipping VIP table next to the ring. Just sat there watching this shit going down. It'd be amazing.
Nice.
What we're going to try and do also, ladies and gentlemen, is try and see if we can get some interviews done with the guys who will be competing at Cage Steel 19. So we're going to basically see if we can get some interviews done. Probably what we'll do is we'll go to them because I think there's a gym near near York, and we'll just
Uh-huh.
conduct all the interviews there. If that makes sense.
Yeah, we'd need one of those wireless headphones, and then we could just go.
No, we could use this setup as long as
So
we've
what
got,
do you think about the fight?
as long as we've got a plug.
Well,
As long as we've got electricity, we can do this. We can do this because, like, a lot of people don't even know podcasting relatively easy. I mean, when you think about it, we spent
Compared to how hard it used to be,
150 quid,
something like that.
something like that, 150 quid for all the kit, except for laptops, which obviously most people have their own laptops. Audacity is free software. Like, the space we do it in is right now we're in Mickey's bedroom. But you know, there's places we can use for free. I mean, it's quite simple to do podcasting and just having a discussion like we are.
That's it.
I recommend it to
implore
more people.
to do it. I
Yeah.
think it's one of those things where you slowly but surely get a following behind it, and it's just something where we get together and just have a chat really and just see where it goes. So glad to know that you guys are enjoying it, whoever you are. If you don't, leave us a comment. If you do, leave us a comment. We want to know exactly what you think.
Yeah, especially the guys on iTunes. So if you are on iTunes and you're listening now, it's great to see because we can see the reviews very easily. Like, that's probably the easiest place to see it on. So on iTunes, if you could leave you have to star it and then put a review and a title and stuff like that. But it'd be great if you left us some feedback, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we're on YouTube as well, the Gentleman's Debate.
Yeah, the Gentleman's Debate podcast are on YouTube. So if you actually want to see us rather than just hear us, you can see us. Except for this episode, because Josh, as we said earlier, he's away. He's been to Manchester to watch Metallica. Very jealous. I wish he'd let me know in the future. I wish he'd just let me know. Because I'm a big Metallica fan. But if you want to keep up to date with what we do, then it's always going to be on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll obviously take a few photos so you can see us, and we'll put that on the Instagram feed. But we'll be back next week. Sam will be back as well.
Yep, Sam will be back.
Sam
So
will
will
be back.
Josh.
And so will Josh. So we'll have our YouTube content ready to go. And we'll also see if I think we want to try and get a guest in at some point, because we were going to have Supporting Women in Science, which is a University of York society. We were going to have them in, but unfortunately we had to reschedule, and we need to figure out how our schedules work.
Yeah.
But then also we want to try and get in November the interviews with the fighters who will be competing at Cage Steel 19. And then that would, that's kind of what our schedule may be looking like in the future. Obviously, we'll keep you, ladies and gentlemen, posted with what we plan on doing. But yeah, please let us know what you think in the comments section, the review section, whether it's chuffing cold. But I think we'll wrap it up now, Mickey.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Sounds good to
So
me.
my name is Simon, and it's been a pleasure speaking to you, Mickey, and to the lovely ladies and gentlemen who listen to us.
Thank you very much, and have a lovely day.
Yeah, see you later, motherfuckers. Bye-bye.